Oh my goodness, AfterBuzzers. Welcome to the finale of The Handmaid's Tale, episode 10, Night, So Many Feels. Let's discuss.
You're tuning into the destination for TV superfan discussion, AfterBuzz TV. And now, let the buzz begin.
And I'm feeling good.
There it is.
Right? Well, we'll talk about how good we're feeling,
Yes.
but this is the finale of The Handmaid's Tale. Oh my goodness, it's been a very long and interesting ride, and short at the same time. It's like, wait, we're done? It's like, oh no. We're talking about episode 10. Episode is called Night. My name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's Karidlane. And we have our full panel.
Yeah.
So great for the finale. Introduce yourselves.
Hey guys, I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique, every week at blackgirlnerds.com, and every Wednesday at Schmoes Now.
Hey everyone, Veronica Bariga here. I am online and social media at Veronica, the letter B, online.
Hi guys, I'm Adrian Snow. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow, and that's MSADRINSNOW.
And we do have a live chat, so if you are watching this live, join us in the chat. We will see your comments. And if you're watching it later, comment down below. All of you have wonderful discussions that you've brought up after the fact, which we love reading. So, getting right into it, how satisfied do you feel with the ending? Briefly.
So satisfied, and mostly because of the tone they had her take. Her internal dialogue had the right tone for this ending.
Cool.
Super satisfied, so happy, love it, love it, love it. Best episode so far.
I thought it was great.
Girl, ditto.
I just feel like,
Amen.
love it. And I'm like, I thought it was great.
It was solid.
Yeah, I think that's a good answer. Well, it's after it's echoing everybody's sentiments. Absolutely, I thought it was a great ending. I have read the book. How far did you get, Adrian?
Not far.
Not far enough. Okay.
No,
Do you
I
plan to
mean-
read it now?
I'm still in the process of reading
finish?
it, but
Okay.
I'm taking like herbalism classes, so I have other books that I have to read.
Lots of stuff.
and-
Yes, fair enough. As someone who read the book, I am also very satisfied with how they ended it.
Oh, cool.
So let's jump right into it. So opens with an interesting jump back in time to the Red Center to see a little bit more of our main character. And at first, when she says like there was this expression everybody had, I wrote down expression. And I was waiting till she said what word it was, and then it was like terror. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's a sad, good word. And she talked about how they all had that on their faces for so long, because we all have moments maybe where you get scared in life, but it's like briefly, generally speaking, you're not going to be that way for like extended. So that's a horrible frame to be in for a lengthy period of time.
But I think over time that became so normal that the terror look was just a normal look.
Yeah.
And that's terrifying. But yeah, I think that's what the statement was about, sort of how like this thing never went away, it just became normalized.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was intense. I feel like we've seen them surviving. There was peak terror for me when she's now off Daniel, got her eye removed in the center.
Yes.
Yeah.
Janine.
Yes,
Yep.
Janine has had some really like terrible stuff happening to her at the Red Center. This was the first time they feel like cattle to me.
Yes.
We have the bed scene where they definitely feel like, okay, well, you're entering a prostitution ring. This is what's happening now. We have the moment before where they're in the training and their desks are set up and it's a creepy classroom. And all these moments are kind of awful and terrifying, but this is the first time where it's like, you're lower than human. Like, you're less than property, even.
Oh, yeah.
The whole tagging ear scene with an air pressure gun. My God. There's been a lot of moments in this show that have like messed me up. That really screwed me over.
Yeah, at first when they walked in, I'm all interview, interrogation.
Yeah,
oh no,
torture.
This is the marking and
Well, I thought they were going to electrocute her because it wasn't clear at first. I just saw the generator and I thought, okay, what are they going to scare the truth out of her? What are they doing to her?
Yeah.
And then it became real clear.
This is what they use to tag cows, guys. Just
Yeah.
so you know.
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
wondering how
No.
tagging is used. Or...
it's just at first going, what's going to happen?
before I
here?
knew. Yeah.
I see a lot of people remember like, what the hell is this machine? I'm like, it's how they tag
how they
cows
do it
here.
normally.
So,
Yeah.
A lot of people who, if they've never experienced farm or driven
Yeah.
past a farm, don't know that cows do have their ears tagged. I mean,
I think it's normally a bigger tag. Yes?
It's a
giant triangle,
It's a giant,
usually.
or even like greyhounds when they're born, they have like their birth date tattooed into their ear for like racing and all that kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
it is a very like animalistic thing, and
Sure.
it's something that's also just to tie back into how the show does pull from real life elements. It's something that was done or is done throughout human history of like when you consider people to be less than, you in some way have to tag them or at least they didn't
treat them
We're
like
trying to keep
animals.
track
They
of
could have
that.
branded
they could
her.
have branded them and
Yeah.
thankfully
Right.
they didn't do that. But
Yeah, I was curious then after this, we figure out the branding, but I wanted to know how they tested for fertility because they seem so kind of removed from science. So it's like, how did they get to that in the first place? How did they know this group of women were fertile? Because I mean, we have the operation later, which we'll get to that. But like,
I think it's
how did they first do that?
like medical records. I read some article a while ago of how they were able to do the transition over, or maybe it was the actual book. I don't know. I've been reading a lot, but about how they were able to take over so quickly because, you know, when you sign up for like a bank account,
Right.
they'll ask if you're a male or female. Or,
Yeah.
And so even that, if you have medical records and it says that you've successfully had a child within the past 5 years, then that could be
That's
a
what I was
reason.
going to say. I think they collected because, okay, well, I'll take it back. When she found the letters of the other handmaids, they were all referring to their children. So I think that might be it. Like maybe if you had a children, therefore we know you're fertile, we don't have to test you. We're going to take your child away and we know you're capable of making more.
No, that totally
Maybe-
makes sense.
Yeah.
This is a good suggestion from the chat. Mr. Henry says, I suggest you read the Hollywood Reporter interview with Margaret Atwood where she explains the different elements taken from history. That'd be kind of cool to see a breakdown of inspiration.
Lots of good articles. Oh,
Yes. And then we jump into the more resistance statement by Offred, and they shouldn't have given us uniforms if they didn't want us to be an army.
Yeah. That was a moment. That was one
It's
of my
like,
favorite
yes.
moments. Oh, yeah, man.
That's kind of like the beginning of it, or at least more of the ball rolling. Then when she hides the package, and oh shit, Serena slap, that came like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
My God.
That was I
She
literally
hit her
shouted.
hard.
I watched this last night at like 2 a.m. with my roommate.
Yeah.
Our other roommate sleeping, and I like it just so fast, like from my hand to the door to the giant slash on her face. I was like, no, why?
I saw the slap in the preview, so I was ready for
Yeah.
that. But I did not realize that her head was going to slam into the door.
Oh.
This lady,
Yeah.
it's like you can give
She's
her a
so
concussion.
violent.
She's the
And
worst.
that's why I've never been Team Serena or Team Aunt Lydia.
Ever.
I've never given them an ounce of my empathy. Everyone's like, oh,
They don't
well,
deserve
you know,
it.
in this moment, I'm like, never.
No, Serena definitely. I feel like Serena more than ever this episode proved that she doesn't deserve anybody's sympathy.
Yeah.
Yes.
When she tries to play that Scrabble game,
Yep.
and she's like. He's like, you know the law. She's like, yeah, I wrote it. And I'm like, well, girl,
Yes!
you gotta
my
abide
gosh,
by
yes.
it now. Like, I can't help you, Serena. What I do like about Serena's character, though, I think in the same way, if you guys are watching American Gods, a lot of people don't like Shadow's girlfriend,
Laura.
Oh, Laura. I like Laura.
I like Laura.
I don't like Laura. I have a lot of
Ish.
reasons we don't have to get into right now. But I like seeing complicated women on screen. And Serena is the definition of a complicated woman.
yeah.
Yes.
Like having created this thing that she has to live in that she now hates, to needing this person to have a child so that she can feel validated, and yet not like being jealous of her having the child. Like Serena's whole internal conflicts this episode are amazing, and they're things women actually have to deal with emotionally.
Yeah.
So I appreciate her being there.
Generally, the chat is agreeing of not liking Serena, but I feel you a little bit this one. Brianna says, this episode destroyed all faith I had in Serena. I didn't have much, but, and this is a TVMA show, so we'll probably have some swearing here, but fuck Serena. This
Yeah.
episode, I wrote it, I'm like, no!
She's
Yeah.
not human. She's not capable of compassion.
yeah.
It's almost like a sociopath. They're missing
Yeah.
that thing in their mind that, I mean, well, no.
I don't think she goes into full
she-
sociopath. I think she's mean, but
Yeah, but she's not capable of compassion. There's a chip missing. There's something missing.
Well, there's something about women who kind of go along with patriarchal societies, who kind of side with the men who vote for people who shouldn't be in office, and because that was a thing that comes up even now in present day of like, well, why are there women who still, you know, side with men? And that's not to say that there should be a us versus them type of mentality, but it's complicated because Serena is a complicated person because I think in her mind, she really believes everything she says. And she really thought when she wrote that,
That's how I feel about that.
she was making the world a better place. That, you know, well, because, I mean, even to this day, my mom's not going to be happy, but she, you know, there used to be this kind of mindset of like, a woman should let a man support her. And so I can understand Serena's mindset thinking that that's how this world will be. And you know, maybe these women won't like it at the beginning, but they'll come to understand.
There's also
in
the
best
complication
interest.
of if I'm the first one, I'm special.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
the same reason why a lot of people, like when others get they're the first one of their kind into the door, they tend to try to exclude others from their culture because they're like, but then I won't be the most important one, or something, I won't be valued. And I feel like that's what she's going through. Like she thought I was the only woman in the room.
Yep.
I was smart. I could handle myself, and I was still the idea of what a man wanted. I
She
was
thought
wanted
she would
and
be
desired.
the exception.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Lindsay in the chat said the same thing. I think she's just pissed at how the situation turned on her.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
And that's the thing about like any type of whatever. Everyone's like, stop talking about race and stuff. It's about everything. But any type of progressive society is going to eventually turn on the people that even help them. It's not something that's helpful to anyone. Like Gilead is not helpful to men. It's not helpful to women.
Yeah.
But the people who are going to like have the burden of it more are going to be the women. You know what I mean?
I understand where she's coming from and why she's so about this moral code that she helped write, but why is she so cruel? She doesn't have to be so
I think we get the key to that
heartless.
when
Yeah.
she says, did you have to take everything from me?
Yeah.
I honestly feel like she feels deprived in this situation, which is like peak entitlement. Like you created the world and now you're living in a world of your own rules. But she's like, I can't have a baby. So one, the greatest thing you could do as a woman in her head is to have a child.
Right.
She can't do that. I was the only one who's supposed to be intimate with my husband. And she says when Offred first gets there, don't get confused. Okay, this is my husband.
Yeah.
You're just a handmaid. She's comforted by the words of like, she's just going to be gone and we're going to be a family.
Yeah.
I honestly feels like she feels she has nothing, but that, you know, and this girl is trying to actively take it away from her because this is the only other interaction she has with a woman other than Martha, who's only there to take care of her.
Yeah. It's
I just felt it was hypocritical when she said that because
yeah.
I mean, how's she going to tell her you okay? She said you took this from me, right?
Oh, and I was like, she has a choice.
She has a choice.
well, that's the thing as well. That's a commentary on.
That was my first thought.
Well, that's a commentary on victim blaming. It's like when another woman turns to another woman who's just been raped and she goes, well, what were you wearing? And then that's something
absurd.
that's also focus, like turns back on just like, well, what has this person been taught? And that's not to say that it's right or anything, but it's just to say like, well,
What
Serena
situation
can't-
created this?
Yeah, Serena can't take it out on Fred.
Yeah.
If she takes it out on
Right.
Fred, then what's going to happen to her?
She can't go out in public or she could be killed.
Is she going to become a Jezebel? Was he going to throw her into the colonies? And so it becomes a situation of like, well, she's angry, and she wants to hit somebody, so she can't hit him. And June was also a part of the situation, and she's the weaker component, so she can beat her. So it's like a. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form I condone anything Serena did, or I like Serena in any way, shape, or form. If I met her in real life, the character, I'd probably like punch her in the face. But but like,
I would just tell her she's a great actress.
I said the character, you guys. Not the actress. The actress is doing a marvelous job, which is why I want to punch her character in the
she's
face.
so great because on Chuck, she's a super sweet, adorable person, and then on this, you're like, I hate you. So we get the do you think she has a choice because she found the dress, and that's when I wrote fuck you, Serena. And then we find out Offred is pregnant. That pregnancy test moment was so awkward.
I knew it was
and
gonna happen.
uncomfortable.
I was like, she's gonna be pregnant.
I was so annoyed by that because I'm like, whoa. Could be a false positive. It's really early on to be excited because this world we've already established, just because someone gets pregnant doesn't mean you carry it to term.
But this is atypical behavior of Serena. We saw this when they thought she was pregnant earlier in the season, and she's already getting out the bassinet and special food and something coming super nice. Like this, all she has is the potential of a baby.
Well, they all display abusive like patterns. Like even how she hits her and she's
violent.
like, "Oh, it's okay. You're pregnant. Everything's fine."
This is what we prayed for.
Yeah, God knows what's in your heart.
Yeah, or Fred when he Fred shames her or says something to her about like you brought sin or lust back into this house, and then immediately like a day later is apologizing. Like that's like textbook abusive behavior of like,
Yes. Oh,
yeah.
I'm gonna abuse the crap out of you, and then I'm like, oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's no love in that marriage.
there's no
not
love.
an ounce of it.
Speaking of them, she busts in his office. We talked about the Scrabble. I like how he told. I kind of like though that he's like, no, I'm not playing with you, because I'm like, well, Serena, you set this up for yourself. But they kind of another random mention of the world outside, which was cool, is how that there was a Martha arrest because they were trying to plan an attack.
I like that.
Which was like, ooh, does this mean we'll get more from our Martha in the house? Which I hope so.
Yeah.
Martha Rita. It's one of those.
This is there were multiple Marthas.
Yes, a few Marthas were
Yeah.
arrests. He said arrests, plural.
Yeah.
And then, she wrote the law, which made me like, well, you got what you deserve, biatch. And then the confrontation that they have, which I kind of was like, okay, good. Well, at least I'm glad you're talking to him. But, oh my gosh, how disgusting was it for him to turn that argument on her, which you kind of were mentioning how it's like, oh, you brought lust and stuff into this house. It's just like,
It's ridiculous.
and how her little jab, it's not yours because you're not worthy.
Okay, no, I did
Puts
stand in
Offred
cheer,
in
though.
danger.
Not because I was happy for Serena, but just because I liked that these two people were finally making each other like the most miserable.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
It's the idea of her just being like, in your face, I no longer care, like just complete snapping.
Yeah.
And the fact that, and we can get more into it as we delve further into the show, but Serena and June's stories mirrored each other's so much throughout this episode. And I like that we get to see Serena snap first and just lose all composure in front of the captain, which we haven't seen her do before. And then later we get that moment with June, and we see how Serena acts.
Someone kind of mentioned like why the pregnancy test for black market. I think it's just I think they go the more natural way because they said the pregnancy test was a black market item. I don't know why they would bother to make them.
Do you have to
Well, maybe
show
because if somebody
science?
knows they're pregnant early on, they can do something about it.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Do we think it's Nick or Fred's baby?
Oh man,
no
I have
idea.
struggled with
I'm
this.
pretty sure it's next.
I mean, I'm
think
hoping
Fred-
that
Nick.
it's Nick, but they've
Hoping,
been
yes.
having sex so much within the same time periods
Yeah.
and frames and
Yeah.
stuff that, I mean... it could be anything.
Someone said, Tuapbala says, definitely Nick's baby. She's been with the commander for like a year and he's been shooting blanks.
That's also
I
fair.
have said that before. Yeah.
And this isn't their first handmaid, so
Yeah.
Nick
Uh,
assumes it's his.
yeah.
That nice, cute little moment.
And then we get the moment though when we find out she's pregnant and it kind of spreads through the family. How sweet was Rita with her, of like how kind, and even when like Serena's
Yeah.
yelling at her, Rita's like, hold on, are you okay? Do you want like food? I felt that was, I mean, I know she likes it.
Girl's face.
Sorry, only because you're sitting next to me.
No, I just don't buy it. Like,
Oh, okay,
no. I just think Rita is like,
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Rita is like essentially like Nick in that they're both survivors. They're both like,
yeah.
what do I need to do to put myself in the right position
Yeah.
to make things good? Rita's excited to see a baby. Like they're just gonna be a baby and it's cute. I'm not going anywhere. I get to raise this kid, like hang out with it. Like this is exciting for Rita.
yeah.
I don't think
I
I don't think
believed
she
it.
hates June. I don't think there's animosity toward June, but I also don't trust that this is like a genuine like loving thing. In the same way when she shares the drink with Serena, I don't think it's really hard to be genuine when you have to be subservient or in constant competition with somebody.
I think for Rita, it's more of I don't think it's necessarily like pure survival when it comes to June. I think that's definitely a part of it, but there's also something about being relieved that this woman will not be sent to the colonies. Like, if,
She'll
like,
fulfill the purpose
You
that
will
she's supposed
fulfill
to
the
be here.
purpose. Like,
Yeah.
okay, now we can
Sure.
be nice to you. Now we can like whatever that form
Yeah.
is.
I'll
Like,
be
it's-
interested to see if there's more camaraderie now based off what happens at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we get the interesting moment with Nick and Offred where she's like, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
And the touching the belly thing, I'm like, oh, it just weirds me out.
I thought it was sweet.
Hold on. Getting there. Hold on. I think pregnancy's weird in general anyways. But
It's weird.
I remember
Amen.
seeing a woman who had a t-shirt that was touch the belly, lose the hand. Mm-hmm. And I think it's just yes, it could be his, but is that like, she should have almost like invited, because she's like, oh my gosh, like weirded out at first when he
Yeah.
touched her. That's more how I felt uncomfortable, because she wasn't like, yay, you're touching it, and like,
Yeah.
It was awkward.
I think that just has to do with, her situation.
Yeah.
I don't think she'd be like that if it was, we saw the flashback.
It felt grounding. This is the first gentle touch she's had in a hot second, and they've been feuding, and he's like, I'm gonna. And also, like, y'all, okay, but everybody has the biggest crush on Nick, and I freaking love watching the show with her. And everybody's just like, oh my god, I can't believe it. This week, I was like, I get Nick now. I get
You
what
saw
this
him.
guy is about. Like, it's come into full focus. And Nick is a survivor, but be a protector.
Yeah.
Nick has protected literally everyone in that house from themselves. He's like, I will not come in this house.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
going to keep us all good and clear.
Yep.
And now people had to draw sides, and he said, well, I choose this chick. I'm interested to see what Nick pulls out of his pocket.
I like
Yeah.
this in the chat. Potter Lala says people think they can touch every pregnant person they see. I think that's my like. Well, wait a minute, and and then one more. Dawn Girl says I thought it was beautiful and tragic and suspenseful. Yeah, I thought their moment though that they cuddle was super cute and sweet though, because then I really felt for them in that moment.
And it also makes me feel like if Nick believes that this is his child, that opens up
he
the
will
potential
protect her.
for something else. Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
And we saw that at the end. He said, trust them, trust
Yeah.
the eye. And so there's something happening, Raises the stakes,
I understand the gentleness of the moment, and I thought there was a part of it that was endearing, but it's also like a. It also just made me a little uncomfortable because it's not. Even if there is an affection between them, this is not something that June would have chosen. Like
No,
Right,
of course
yeah.
not.
like regardless of them having sex, like at the end of the day, this is something where she's bringing a child into the world only to give that child away, regardless
Yes.
of, and it wasn't conceived necessarily because they wanted it. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So that's like where I get complicated with it.
Sure.
And I don't think you should touch pregnant women's bellies without their permission.
Yes.
Definitely.
Because they don't like that.
But it's
Yeah.
his
I've never
baby,
done it.
So
No,
I
but
don't
it's
know.
still,
I just read
but
the
they're
next-
not an official couple.
That's
Like if it was
true.
Luke, all
But
for it.
here's how I read the
Yeah.
situation. Like, it's so much less about like whose baby is this and oh my gosh, we're a couple,
Yeah.
and more of like, okay, so I recognize for you that this is awful and you cannot express that in
Yeah.
this moment.
Yes.
But I'm here.
Yes.
Like, we've been fighting. Like, I'm back. Like,
I
we
understand
can
that.
It was
rely on.
good.
So that's how I took that.
I saw that part as
Good
well, but
comforting.
there was a like a weird
Sure.
like, glimmer of that
Yeah.
when I quickly watched it. Yeah.
Well, then speaking of children, then we jump to the next thing with Mrs. Waterford, and they take her and stay in the car, and seeing Hannah through the window.
When I say I'll choke a big child, like
I wanted to kill her. in
I
that
was
moment.
ready. I was ready. Because, girl, you
her?
did not have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, even if you wanted to convey this concept,
Yeah.
the way you did it
Yep.
was... And again, I like that we have complicated, messy women on TV, because I don't
Yep.
want to complain and people be like, it's real. It is real, and it's awesome. But also, like, she just shows the most down and dirty way of being like, I'm going to show myself having a really great time with your kid, and she
Yeah.
won't be able to see you or hear you or touch you. It could have easily just have driven by the place and been like, look, this is where your kid is. Like, she could have done like a walk by, like just a lot of different ways of conveying this message
Yeah.
of like,
Yep.
if you keep my child safe, I'll keep your child safe. To do this was just cruel.
That's why I
Oh.
think she's a sociopath. I really believe this. And sociopaths are very intelligent. They're very charming. I mean, there's something very sick about her. You know, she could have done other things.
If she didn't
Sociopaths
have
don't have
reasons generally.
the empathy. So like
Yeah.
Right.
she can have empathy for like
I don't think she
her
does,
I think she does,
husband.
though.
Okay.
We've seen just in the past. We've
She's
seen
just
her
sick.
showing not in the present Gilead, but in the before then.
Yeah.
It doesn't come from sociopaths like the game of things.
Yeah.
They just like fucking with people.
Sure.
And I feel like that's for her.
You think she has empathy?
I think she has the ability.
Look, if Serena had any kind of control over her life, she wouldn't need to be this vicious.
Yes.
Like, this cruelty isn't
totally
inherent
power
and
trip.
inbred in her.
Yeah.
It's based off the society that, granted, she helped create.
That she helped
Yeah.
create.
But she couldn't have possibly foreseen this outcome for herself,
Yeah.
or she wouldn't have
Sure.
drawn it up in
Yeah.
the first
Okay.
place.
Yeah.
And I don't think I always have to
enough,
be reticent, even for myself, to call everyone a sociopath.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't think a lot of people are, but it's something where it's like sometimes people are just like
I'm just trying to-
complicated and
Or
bad.
I'm just trying to make
desperate.
sense out of it
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's so
Yeah.
awful. It's a special kind of evil.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Well, back with the music box, this is another moment. I like how this is quintessential 2 in the chat said, oh, that was so cruel the way she took June to see her child was another way to show power. Absolutely. It's a way of power,
Yeah.
asserting dominance. And because June, has such an influence on Fred. So this is like
yeah.
Well, and you also have to think, she sees her happy with Nick, and I really think that kills her.
Yeah.
I think it kills her that she has found
Well,
love
dang.
in all of
Yep.
in all the craziness. Like,
Yep.
you get someone who loves you back? Hell no.
And I
Yes.
don't. Yeah.
She
Yep.
found love in a hopeless place.
Get out of here.
Yes.
You need to leave.
But yeah, and
Hashtag
then
Rihanna.
Moss's performance in that moment too, I just was like, I totally was like,
her
ugly
breakdown
cry.
where she's like slamming against the car.
Oh,
My favorite
like,
part is
let
when she,
me out?
when she goes full
Oh,
cold
swear?
and she's like, you are
Yes.
the worst.
Yeah.
You are human
Everywhere.
filth. I was
Yeah.
like, get it. Get in there.
She thought about every single word too. She
Yeah.
Loved
you
it.
are this. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, when she said I don't say it in public, but I say it in private, the C word.
Yeah.
I was watching it, and I just said it like 2
Yes.
seconds before she said it. I was
Yeah.
like, "What up, C word?" And then she said it, and I was like, "I agree.
Yes.
I rarely say that word,
Yes.
but
This is
Not a word
appropriate
you use
time.
often.
yeah."
Yeah.
This is appropriate.
It was so good and gratifying, I think, for all of us as viewers to see her let it out. I'm going to tell you what I really think about you.
Yeah.
He calls her Serena. I said, oh?
Oh, yeah. First name.
Really? No retaliation.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, but the threat back too of like, if you die, if anything happens to you, my baby, your child. That was like,
Yeah.
you know,
So,
that.
wait, I want to say something. I thought about that. I thought about the threat because at first, we're all emotional and in the moment, and we think it's a valid threat. But is it? Because if she. No, but if she. Well, I'm asking because if she hurts a child, don't they stone her? How would she ever
Secretly.
pull this off?
She could secretly do
It
it.
would be really challenging. They know how many kids they have. Like, kids are their
Yeah.
most precious commodity.
Yeah.
It's literally all they have. I'm with you. It feels...
Empty threat?
The
Here's
more
the
I
thing,
thought
though.
about it.
Yeah, but that's the thing. And the whole time she's like freaking out in the car, I'm like, stop and think, stop and think, shut up. She's not letting you out of this car. Can you count streets back? Like, come up with a plan.
Yes.
Like potholes. Like, I know there are not street signs, but you need to figure something out.
Yeah.
'Cause
Notice
this
the
rage is not doing
buildings
anything.
come back.
And I think
Yes.
if she had been able to, which again, who could blame you?
Maybe
Like,
she was.
she
She hadn't
didn't
seen
know
her
if her
child in,
daughter was
like,
alive
3
or not,
years.
and then
Yeah.
she's looking
Yeah.
just so gorgeous, little pink like Red Riding Hood thing.
Oh, so cute.
But I agree with you. I don't think that there's much she could do. And to the commander's point, he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's
So
not going to
how
hurt
would
a
she-
child. This
Yeah.
is what she lives for.
I agree that Gio's
Yeah.
like, you don't know her, and if she could find a way, she might.
She might.
But I also feel
Yep.
like
It might be too difficult to pull off.
it
in
would be
this
really,
society.
really challenging
Yeah.
for Serena to pull this off.
All right, so the next gnarly thing we get to is Warren Putnam on trial with the council. Oh boy.
yeah.
It was, I mean,
Flashback.
not necessarily
Flashback.
man-hating, but how rewarding was it to see some men punished finally in this show?
This scene was rewarding for like 3 reasons. First, the table of suits. If you guys
Yeah.
have ever had to negotiate for a raise or do contracts where it's literally only men on the other side, that is what it feels like. Hi, I'm so sorry for disrupting your time. I need money. So talk to me about how we can make this work. I'm not
Yeah.
going to upset you. Whatever you do, I throw myself fully at your mercy because what else can you do? It's literally a panel full of men. It's terrifying.
Yes.
What was secondly gratifying about this was the fact that we have Fred sitting at the table like, we all have work to get back to. And they're like,
No.
are we too busy for sin, Fred?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sin? Seeing Fred have to eat his own shit was so like, it was just amazing. I was like, how you feeling, Fred? Does this feel right?
Yeah.
Does it feel good?
It's all
Do
righteous
you know
and
what's going to
stuff, huh?
happen to you?
Yep.
Watching you, Fred.
Because he thought
Absolutely.
he could, like, he's like, well, maybe if they forgive this one, they'll forgive mine. I'm like,
Yeah,
no.
exactly. He was watching something that was possible for him, and that's the only
Yeah.
reason he spoke up. He said, "This could be me in this situation."
Well, he's like, how many of us have? And like a couple people nodded, but the gentleman next to him, which I'm blanking on his name, he was on the other episode, kind of was like,
No.
nope.
absolutely not. Yeah.
And you're like, Fred just sat there like,
He's like, well, then the wife, surely she, innocent
And the
people.
guy,
And he's like, she
no.
wants
Third
Worst.
most gratifying moment is this moment of like, well, come on. She's like, well, of course she wants what's best for her. She asked for the most harsh
my God.
punishment. And to transition into the next scene, I love that it's his ring, like his marriage hand. Like they're like, and we'll just remove that ring for you
Yep.
because you can't even wear that anymore. This is a sign of your infidelity for life.
I thought they
Yeah.
were gonna.
I thought they were castrated.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's what I thought.
Just
Yeah,
like men to be like, you know what?
No,
Don't
just
need
cut
it.
off your arm.
I already have
well,
the one
he's
kid I'm
gonna
gonna get.
try to
Interesting that they
get
didn't.
pregnant, other women pregnant, so it's more just the.
But they already have a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
It's yeah, because
I like.
I didn't. Well, I had to close my eyes. That was pretty graphic.
Yeah.
I
Boy.
loved the snipping
You
of the
watched
skin.
it?
Oh, no.
I
had
watched
to-
a second
I can't
time
handle
because
It was
I love
excellent
it.
effects too. It
Yeah.
looks so
It's good.
believable.
Yeah.
Insane Lane in the chat says,
graphic.
interesting to see Fred seated at the literal right hand of the man in charge of it all. Who, yeah, he seems to be the one in charge. Quintessential 2 says the ultimate punishment should have been to send him to the colonies. His own skin would have fallen off in a slow death. Yeah, and So Lindsay says he had an operation to get his hand removed. Why didn't they just slice him like a ham? Yeah, they had that very interesting, clean, to cover that back up. And it was wonderfully gnarly, but it was so nice to see that at least the guys get punished too. And again,
you get superior punishment.
Yeah.
Girls didn't get like nice sedatives when they were getting their eyes gouged out. Or the women. Okay, well now you don't get to have sex. His whole sin was with his penis. But we're gonna remove your hand. Don't worry about it. Your cock is intact.
Similar to your reaction out loud, and then I don't know about you viewers, but I speak out to the TV. I like this too. Dawn Girl goes, "My little brother yelled, 'Dude, shut up! You're about to be next,' while Fred was talking."
Pretty much. Yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah, I had my moments where I was like, oh, great.
I don't think they would sentence any of them to the colonies, though, because then that shows, like, the way to maintain power is to kind of keep this, like, perception that they are above. So if you make them below, they're like, oh, you're so
But then, is this a moment where you kind of feel like Fred's, his belief in this religion or this society is sort of not fully there? I mean, he's kind of... I think he's starting to question whether this is sustainable.
No.
I think that he's got, Fred's
Not
introduction,
exactly.
the introduction we see for Fred into this society is with Serena. They start the relationship based off lust. They get married in the heat of, I want to have sex with you, but the rules state that I have to be married.
Yeah.
That is how they view their religion. It's not so much about, I believe this and I really feel strongly that it is a path that will help all people. These are the rules.
Okay.
Why doesn't society abide by them? I'm above the rules because I helped bring these rules to society.
Some people read the Bible and then they take the wrong parts of the Bible from the Bible. And you're like, that's not what Jesus said.
Yeah, they're literalists and they conveniently ignore so many things. So,
for their own agenda, exactly.
You're just saying that. We see you, King James.
So we get the offer going to Nick, but no answer. But I like that she went to the commander because she needed to talk to somebody. They get the "Is it mine?" and discussion, and she wants him to protect her daughter. But oh yes, I loved his. You're good at that line. And then the package. We finally learned what the package is. How do we feel about what it is?
I had feelings. So many of them. Oh my gosh, this is just because we're short on time, to compare this to Samira Whitley's journey up north when she finally gets to Toronto and she's uncovering the license plate, and then we see her go through what is possibly the most I feel like I've watched a lot of documentaries about refugees and stuff. I don't know any refugees personally. I don't have any first person experience with them. Watching this show was horrifying from that perspective of it's just such a drastic change of oh my god, I'm free to here's all these things. I couldn't have anything before. I was assigned my clothing and now I have all of these options of things. Do you want to eat more?
Yeah.
What? Was there food here in the first place? What is even happening? And then that final moment of where she's family. This whole idea of do you have any family here? No. And then she meets Luke, and I just so many feelings. I love that he's of course your family.
Yeah. Oh, I cried.
Yes, that was the thing that breaks her.
I was actually describing that scene to someone. I'm like, so in the finale, there's this moment, and I'm like, dude, I'm getting choked up just talking about it.
Yeah, it's so beautiful.
She's like,
and that's the first time she could be emotional, and who knows how long.
Yes.
But how long has it been since that woman has been able to cry?
Yeah.
And have someone comfort her as she cried. Yeah. And it was so beautiful. And then she got medical care, just putting that out there.
Yeah, I was like, wait, this refugee thing might be better than her past life.
Oh, yeah.
In America as a working class citizen.
Yes.
But I just thought that was a nice touch. They're like, here's your medical card. I was like,
They did
a cell phone, a ton of money.
Yeah.
I was like,
clothes.
And freedom. Yeah.
And
Which
now
that kind of was
family.
an interesting statement about refugees, because I was like, I would never expect if I went somewhere as a refugee to get things like that. That's just that's an amazing idea, that if you set up a system where they help them in that transition, which I'm like, I don't know, I doubt that happens that well everywhere. Maybe a little bit of help exists, but I was like, this is so good. Good example that we need
it's
to
just
set.
I think to set you up to at least it's certainly not enough to
Live
to
off
build a
of.
whole
No,
life.
Yeah.
But it's like,
it's
hey, we understand
impressive.
you're here and we want to at least make it easy for you to transition.
Yeah.
I did read an article where they were like, well, what about therapy? I'm like, well, I'm
just
sure
thinking
that's going to come later. 'cause
yeah.
he's like our
First, do you
temporary
have a
caseworker.
place to live?
Yes.
Order of
First
needs.
things
Yeah.
first.
Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
No, I did think, the psychological transition.
She will get there.
But yeah, Moira, that whole storyline, which So, briefly, the ending of this show is very similar and different from the book. I'll just say that. Moira, we don't have this kind of ending, which is great. I loved how they wrapped her storyline up, and the moment with Luke was beautiful.
I hope it's not wrapped up. I hope she comes back soon.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, like, if we have...
Yeah, if it were just the book.
So we have then the only other bit, which is, the other huge thing that happened was the salvaging, which I'm like, dude, they're all in the snow with not that much clothes on, all things considered. I'm like, not health for these people. And we have the Janine stoning, but how they all resist it, which I kind of was thinking about this, and I read an article, and it was great how they were like, yes, June is the one who really did something, but Offglen was the one who first stood up.
What I love about the fact that Offglen is the one who's like, no, we're fine, we're safe, just don't do anything, don't rock the boat, like I have food in the house, and it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. I'm not stoning her. Like that quick transition of like, wait, what? No, I was fine with the rules until this.
At some point,
everyone has their line where it's like, absolutely, I would do anything, but I won't do that.
I like that this moment of like, man, we learned so much about people. Like Aunt Lydia, which we've talked a lot about her love for the girls and how it's weird and kind of perverse. And we see that here of like, well, you have to do your duty. Again, just relying strictly on the rules and the letter of the law as opposed to like judging for yourself what is right and wrong.
She was crying though. She knows it's wrong, you know.
But she's literally in the midst of convincing herself that it's not, which is incredible. Then to see all the girls drop their rocks, I really, really, really love June's like just, I'm pregnant. What you gonna do?
I kind of wanted her to say that.
What?
You can't hurt me.
What's happening here? Try it.
I kind of almost thought they were going to hand Aunt Lydia a stone and be like, "You be the first one to you be the one to cast the first stone."
That is what I thought she was doing.
To
when
be
she
more
stuck out her
biblical.
hand. I also thought it was Nick that was going to come out. And not her. But as we're sitting there, I was like, it's time for Nick. Oh, God, no. I was a little relieved.
No, I knew it was going to be Janine.
They kind of gave it away. They had a line.
Once they said that it was about hurting the child, I was like, oh, okay, it's Janine. We're fine.
But that was so beautiful of all of them dropping the stones. And then the other moment is how there's one wings on the ground, so that's Offglen's. That like, Fisher can come back and get it. And then we get the beautiful slow-mo song shot where they're all walking. Oh, that was so like, okay, this was really shitty,
Army of one.
feel pumped up.
Well, they've done this. They've stood together. You could not mess with us all at the exact same time. Which is an entirely new precedent for how that world is going to have to operate, or how they're going to have to punish.
Now, how many people thought or wanted them to throw stones at someone else? I thought they were going to do Aunt Lydia or something else, but I'm like, well,
they can't.
It's dangerous. There's guns.
It's dangerous.
Well, not only that, I feel like these girls have experienced so much violence. I feel like, and while it's not unnatural to want to then make sure somebody else feels pain, I feel like the whole moment was for them to be like, we're done with this.
I think stoning's a pretty horrible way to punish anyone, and I would not. That's just nah.
I want to wish on my worst enemy.
But that's also that's also the second time I've seen Ann Dowd involved in a stoning scene. So I was like, huh.
Hey, Ann.
The fact that they were able to sort of resist so peacefully was the most beautiful thing to watch. They did. This was a peaceful protest, and they made a difference. That to me was so beautiful. You know.
Well, it's that moment where they needed somebody to start the resistance in a way publicly, and then this is a ripple effect of, because then sometimes it does in a group mentality, somebody has to do it first because everyone's like, wait, what are we doing? And then they had the two, we had Offglen and then Offred do it, and then they're all like, okay, we can do this.
We can stand together and accomplish things.
So we're gonna see that revolution come up, which is nice. As long as I read somewhere they had a thing they called for the revolution called the Underground Female Road in the book?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't do that. Please don't call it that.
I beg of you, don't do that.
I was like, that's weird.
Yeah.
Well, it was an escape route, I think.
Well, in connection to the previous, the original.
The Underground Railroad. It was not a touch.
I think I forget what they called it in the show. I don't think they actually said underground, but in the book, that's what.
Oh.
Well, they call it Mayday, but I think that's something
but they describe it as the female underground in terms of like getting women out to Canada and resistance. But
Ashley Boxer says, I think they'll punish Aunt Lydia in a way, don't you think? Aunt Lydia's whole job is to keep these guys in check, and you ain't doing your job, so maybe.
Yes.
Interesting.
Then the final moments in the end, which that scene we get. We get Nick come to June real quick, and he's like, "Go with them." oh shit, go with the eye. And
Yeah.
she's like, but then gets to walk by Serena and Fred, and,
And
is
our
like,
final table switch of the day, where Serena has been like the whole time, like, I don't have to answer to you, even with the whole thing. You think I prayed for this? I don't have to answer you. God knows what's in your heart. I don't have to answer you in the car. I want answers. Tell me what's going on.
Yeah.
I deserve to know. She's my handmaid. Tell me what's going on. I was like, sit there and stew in it, Serena. I hate you.
Yep.
She walked out like a boss.
Yeah.
Like she had won the lottery. Like boom.
And this is what I was saying about the tone of the ending. I think if we didn't have her internal monologue, if she was just getting in the car, I would have been like, this is, I just don't feel like it's too wishy-washy. Right. This idea of like whatever happens next to me, I find this hopeful. I find the fact that I could finally find my voice and make a stand, the thing that's hopeful. Like if there was no season 2, I'm totally cool with that ending. Like this ending is so soul satisfying because it's a full journey of a woman being like, being pulled out of her life, being oppressed, figuring out a way to survive and live within that, and then figuring out a way to resist. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then accepting the fate after that because you've accomplished. Yeah, you fought. You chose to fight, and that's what matters. Yeah.
Yeah, she says I feel serene. I have hope, and then I don't know what I'm waiting for. And then she's happy that she changed the world for her daughter, even just a little bit. And then she tells Rita about the letters, so Rita gets them.
Thank goodness.
I hope she will do something with them. I hope they'll affect her positively.
This is where I think Rita can make a big change for me.
And then gets in the van, and it's is this going to my end or is this going to my hope? I don't know. And then close.
I trust Nick to have done the right thing. I look forward to the revolution in season 2.
Yeah. Okay.
There's actually this reminded me of something. There's this Mexican revolutionary named Emiliano Zapata, and he has a famous quote, and his quote is, "I'd rather die standing than to live on my knees."
Yep.
And that's what this was for me. It was the epitome of her reaching that point, getting in that van, and accepting the fate because you know what, I gave it to him. I did something. You know. So.
Taking your baby seriously.
Want to do the recommended books before
yes,
we wrap up?
One, we'll go around recommended books, and then do we trust that Nick set this up in a good reason? I do think Nick set this up positively. I don't know where it's going. I think he's trying to protect her. And I think it's amazing, and I'm so happy and hopeful for it. I want it to be good. Recommended books, I'm kind of blanking right now off the top of my head, but I know the Nerdist did a list, and I think Mary Sue did a list also of like post-apocalyptic books, if you like this one as well.
This is not post-apocalyptic, but it's feminist-based and amazing. It's Jazz. It is why Toni Morrison. Thank you. Toni Morrison's Jazz. It's maybe my favorite book of all time. And if you want to know what it's like to be a woman who chose not to have a baby and living in the 20s and what the ramifications of that look like and feel like, it's a beautiful book. And it's also about a woman who used to be a slave, got free, and made crazy wild choices with her life. And it's beautiful. I definitely think Nick set this up specifically because 2 episodes ago we get the head of the eye saying like, hey, you haven't reported on Fred, and we know not everyone's squeaky clean, so what's up there? I think he sacrificed Fred for June. I think he's like, look, June, they're gonna ask you some questions about Fred, you need to answer these correctly, and we'll get you out of there. That's my hope anyway. That feels like it feels almost too neat of a bow, but I'm still hoping.
Yeah, that's great. I think Nick is helping her, especially now that he thinks he's the father. This changes everything. So I think it's in good spirit. As far as a book, 1984, George Orwell. Yeah.
Animal Farm.
Animal Farm.
I would say for books, I was reading an article called something, I don't know the name of the article, but the book that they recommended was by Octavia Butler. It was called The Parable of Talent, or The Parable of Something. And it actually it's written in 1988, and she quotes the dictator saying, his tagline was, "Make America Great Again." So that was written in 1998. I would also recommend Their Eyes Were Watching God by Zora Neale Hurston. And then in terms of
The Parable of the Sour.
The Parable of the Sour. Thank you. I was like, I saw multiple names. So with Nick, I don't think any of those men that came in are actual eyes, because Fred knew nothing about it. And that was...
that was so satisfying.
That was something like where even when it's someone where it's a commander being taken, they know, so they always know when the eyes are coming in for something.
Right.
And so I feel like maybe all of those people might be part of the revolution. We'll see.
That would be great.
Oh,
Yes.
Also contended with that.
then we'll start with you, Adrian, going back around how people find you, and then I have one other kind of note on the book.
Yeah. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Miss Adrian Snow.
And any other shows?
Oh, yeah. I'm on Doctor Who on Sunday. I won't be there this week. And then tomorrow I'm doing Unproduced Table Read on Popcorn Talk.
All right, Veronica Bariga on social media at Veronica B online, and I'll also be at Comic-Con for AfterBuzz in July.
Hey guys, I'm Joelle Monique. You can find me all over the internet at Joelle Monique, every week at blackgirlnerds.com, every Wednesday at Schmoes Know. If you head over to the Spotify playlist for Black Girl Nerds, a bunch of the queer writers wrote our coming out stories in playlist form. So if you want to hear 45 neo-soul songs about my coming out story, you can listen to that there.
Nice. My name is Kari Lane. You can find me online at Kari D Lane. That's Karidlane. You can find me on Mondays on Sense8 with this awesome lady.
Oh, no, we got two more.
No, we still got a couple more. American Gods on Sunday, which we're ideally, if everything works out, we're having a special guest, as well as Box Office Breakdown, where we talk about what movies came out over the weekend. I will also be at Comic-Con covering for Popcorn Talk. And now, yes.
Can I talk about this?
Yeah.
I don't know if whatever. I'm in the new Wolfenstein, so
Yes!
and that'll be out in October 27th.
That's my most anticipated game of E3.
I haven't been able to talk about it for like a year, and I've been like,
As an actor?
Nice.
yeah, I play one of the characters. So.
Ooh.
Congratulations.
We're talking after the show.
Wolfenstein, nice. And then a quick little side note, someone pointed out in the book that the Underground Female Railroad thing is actually a thing, there's like a afterword at the end of the book added by academics. So,
okay.
Side note on that. I highly recommend the book. I've read the book twice now. I read it a very long time ago. I read it right before this show. The show does an excellent job of following the book and having a lot of things change. So even if you've watched this show, I still recommend the book because it's not exactly the same. Again, thank you so much for watching. Give the video a thumbs up, and we hope to see you on other shows and as well around at AfterBuzz.
Come back next season.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Don't let the bastards grind you down.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.